When I added this deck to my queue, I knew that I was playing Red-White, Norin Soul Sisters. However, I did not know that I was not playing with Norin the Wary. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another modern video, and today Anubis has asked us to play with Norin Swift Survivalist Soul Sisters. And Norin the Wary is no stranger to Soul Sisters deck, but now we've got a slightly different Norin. This one can't block, has a respectable 2/1 body for 1 mana, and whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may then play that card from exile this turn. And the idea with this deck is you're just going to play a ton of 1-drop creatures. We have 20 1-drop creatures. You just crash them all in during combat, and you say, okay, you block one, I'm going to exile it, I'll just cast it in my second main phase. And when I do so, I'm going to trigger all of my various things that gain me life when creatures enter. I've made 2 changes to this deck list. Number 1, I redid the mana base. It had a very, very large number of basic lands when I first started, and I wanted to have the ability to cash in lands for cards because our curve stops at 2. And we don't have any end game, so I think I need to be able to convert some lands back into cards. And number 2, this was originally a Prismatic Vista mana base in terms of the flex slots here. I turned those into actual fetch lands so that I could fetch out Elegant Parlor. That feels like a really big deal because, again, I have no end game. So once we're at 3 mana, I probably don't need that mana, and a Surveil land is a better use of my time than most other things I can do with my mana. The other change that I made was this was playing a whopping 12 removal spells, and I turned 2 of those removal spells into 1 more copy of Voice of the Blessed, as well as 1 more copy of Voice of Victory. So now we're 8 Voice Soul Sisters. I'm not going to touch the sideboard. I am not really a modern player. I don't know what should be there based on the metagame at any given time, so I'm going to run with the sideboard that I was given. It seems like a reasonable set of cards, and the sideways card here is Wear Tear for some artifact and enchantment destruction. Going into the league, I'm wondering if there is enough top end. I added 2 more pieces of top end at 2 mana with Voice of Victory and Voice of the Blessed. I don't know if we have enough aggro elements to close out the game. A bunch of these creatures are small, and you are relying on synergy between them. I don't know if there is enough payoff for the Guide of Souls and Soul Sisters without more things like Voice of the Blessed. I don't know if you should just be playing some other good cards like your Ajanis and Flages and things of that nature. These are the things that I'm thinking about going into this league. And oh boy, is it Raid Bombardment? Yeah, it is. I wonder if we want some sort of effect that looks like this, that converts our small creatures into damage very, very efficiently. I am very familiar with Soul Sisters as an archetype, but this is a rather unusual take on it. We're not as into the life gain as you might expect with this build. So this is very much going to be we're going to learn from this build as we are going on and figure out what we need as we go through the league. But we get to play with the broken Ragavan again, so that's pretty cool. They don't let me do that in Legacy anymore, and nor should they. Don't take that stuff off the ban list. My heart can't take it again. Folks, if you need any cards for your Modern, your Legacy decks, your Commander decks, whatever, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They are absolutely awesome. They treat me very well. They treat their customers very well. I really enjoyed bantering with the TOA folks when I was in Atlanta, selling them my friend's collection, and I get to visit my friend tonight after I record this video, actually, and give him a nice stack of money. And as a reminder, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order if you're doing business with TOA. Which, honestly, you should. They're great. Alright, let's hop into it. Let's battle. Okay, so is this enough gas here? Norin is not amazing by itself. Ocelot Pride is not amazing by itself. I have 1 redraw. I think I would rather just mulligan this one. This is fine, but slightly awkward, and now I don't know the format well enough to know exactly what I'm going to keep. I think I'm just going to keep my pile of creatures here and hope for the best. I'm going to just Elegant Parlor on one. I think with a Voice of the Blessed here, I do go ahead and keep that. And then I can play Soul Warden directly into Ocelot Pride in a single turn to kick off the game. And we will be having an Ocelot Pride mirror of some kind. So you can take your pick of a sister here. I will go ahead and get this going. We're going to go ahead and always yes and always yield to that. And I will get my cat token and yet another life. The opponent might be mono white. I'm going to get a life for that. They're going to blow up their flagstones. I get a basic plains and a surveil land, which is all fine with me. They say no to a white orchid phantom, and now they're chilling. So now I get to get kind of silly, right? Because I get to go Soul Warden, gain some life, Voice of the Blessed. We're going to do some triggers there. We're going to always yield to that. We're going to always yield to that. Voice of the Blessed is going to get big. I don't need to attack into their 2/2 flyer. I'll just go ahead and move to my end step. I'll put those triggers on the stack. My Voice of the Blessed is, on the turn that I played it, a 6/6 flying vigilance creature. And next turn, it's probably indestructible. We are off to the races. Anubis, this is what we want to see. We'll see if our opponent overpowers us with some more powerful cards. They've got White Orchid Phantom, so they can probably ramp to some bigger and dumber things than what are in my deck. But this is pretty sweet if they don't remove it. Glad I added another one of those just instantly. All right, opponent is chilling and just passing the turn. Well, there's Norin. That's actually kind of sweet. It's sort of a shame that I can't just play both of these instantly. It's very awkward if I try to commit to Norin and then my opponent just has a removal spell and I don't actually get to recast these creatures. Am I interested in dashing Ragavan to be able to replay it? I don't think so. I think that's too cute. Let's just do this. This is now the City's Blessing. I'm going to gain some life. I have the Voice of the Blessed from Hell. I'm just going to go ahead and send that. All right, opponent is going for a block. I wonder if there's just going to be some ephemerate nonsense. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to gain some more life when they blink that. Yeah, you can destroy my land. That will let me play another creature this turn, which is, like, totally fine. So we are now at... Oh, it's 10 or more counters, not 10 or more power. Sure. So this enters tapped, so I don't get Norin immediately, but now I get the Ocelot Pride trigger, which will get Voice of the Blessed to go Super Saiyan. Elia is a very good card. That can knock the counters off my Voice of the Blessed, which is certainly a little annoying. But it might not be too hard to put the counters back on the Voice of the Blessed. Opponent can surveil, that's fine. 16/16 with the stack clear. Opponent can rebound their White Orchid Phantom if they want. They do not want. That is a prismatic ending. I am unsure if that is how I would have handled this situation. My Ocelot Pride seems relatively threatening to me. Ooh, it's Quantum Riddler. I would have considered taking out the Ocelot Pride and then just blinking my Voice of the Blessed. I guess Quantum Riddler changes that equation, right? They want to actively blink this. So I would like this thing dead. I'll just block it with some cat tokens. I don't need to trade a real body here. And I've got the City's Blessing, so we're good in that regard. Gain some more life. There is a Galvanic Discharge. I'm not sure if that's better than just casting Norin and crashing in. It's a 4/6. Yeah, this is very awkward, right? I don't actually have bonus red mana to recast Ragavan if I play Norin, so I only get one spell this turn, kind of. Solitude is kind of fucked up here, because if my opponent doesn't have something like Solitude, I can attack in and just gain a few more points of life. Maybe this is me being a coward. But I don't think I actually gain much by attacking. I'm at 44 life. I'm just gonna accumulate some cats, and I'm still just gaining an absurd amount of life every turn, and then hopefully I'll do some cool things with Galvanic Discharge in a minute. Alright, Starfield Shepherd is happening. This seems perfect for this deck, by the way. Opponent grabs a Guide of Souls, plays a Guide of Souls. Now they've got Guide of... I fucking knew it! Imagine I lose my Ocelot Pride here. Yes. But I'll gain some life first. Oh god, there is Ephemerate. Yeah, my opponent's top end is just so much better than my top end that largely ends at 1. This is not great. So I suspect that even though I am at this much life, I suspect that my opponent is going to cut through this. My opponent has the City's Blessing, so the whole Ocelot Pride Guide of Souls thing is live. I'm not weaponizing this life gain very well. I can take something out of play. I can take 2 somethings out of play. But the Quantum Riddler drawing my opponent extra cards and the Starfield Shepherd that's currently in exile just really mean bad things for me. I think I've got to take out their Guide of Souls so they don't keep gaining a billion D life. And then I could Static Prison the Quantum Riddler. That buys me a little bit of time, but I still don't have good attacks. This is going to draw my opponent a card in a couple of turns, but I'm stopping them from drawing. You know what? Never mind. So now my opponent gets to Ephemerate a Solitude. Presumably Ephemerate a Solitude. That's what I would be doing. An opponent says, playing that in paper seems awful, lol. Yeah, I've played a lot of Soul Sisters in paper. You have to be pretty careful with tracking stuff. So here's Starfield Shepherd again. Now my opponent can get a new Guide of Souls or Ocelot Pride or whatever. Yep. I think my opponent's endgame just buries me here. And I am taking damage from the flyers in the air. I can't get through with Ragavan for card advantage. My opponent has enough energy to start putting counters on Ocelot Pride. Like, I'm at 59, but, you know. I think the tables have turned enough that I concede this one, despite the fact that this game will take another 10 minutes to play out. I just don't think I'm beating that Quantum Riddler. I don't know that I sideboard, unfortunately. We've got our creature removal in the main deck. I can do things like Wrath of the Skies, but I am a billion D1 drop deck. I don't know that it is correct to play Wrath of the Skies here. That is a 7-land opener. That is a no-sir from me. Whereas this is totally fine and good. I'm going to keep this one. I don't know what to throw back. Goblin Bombardment is really high upside in this matchup. I'm going to try to keep that and all of my various 1-drops. If I can assemble Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride nonsense, this is fine. It's possible that I was supposed to just get rid of Souls Attendant. I was trying to keep the redundancy so that if one eats a removal spell on the first turn, I still get to gain my life for Ocelot Pride. Yeah, and that's why I did it. Another Voice of Victory is totally sweet. I'm going to go ahead and shock myself here so that I have access to red-white. We'll start doing the Ocelot Pride thing. Always yes, always yield. And I will make a cat and gain another life. And then I get turn 2 Voice of Victory, turn 3 Goblin Bombardment. And I can even do this pre-combat to see if there's any shenanigans. Ooh, there are no shenanigans. That means this attack is safe. Fantastic. Now if I just eat a Wrath of the Skies here, sucks to be me. And gain some more life. If I don't eat Wrath of the Skies and I untap and I like resolve a Goblin Bombardment, I imagine this game is fully over. Flagstones. Alright, there's a White Orchid Phantom, which I imagine that my opponent is going to use on their own land to ramp. Seems like their endgame is very solid. They get a Surveil land in process. There is a Solitude. Let's see what my opponent is targeting. The Voice of Victory. That makes sense to me. Ooh. I think I wait a turn on Goblin Bombardment. I was not expecting that. I think I wait a turn. I just get so many cats here. I don't need to try to push damage into the first striker. So now we're at City's Blessing. I have 6 cat tokens already, plus Norin, plus Goblin Bombardment. Although the Norin is not super relevant here, I don't think. Okay, cool. So there's not just immediate Ephemerate here. Alright. There's Goblin Bombardment. And there is the concession. I imagine this was lethal this turn, counting the extra cat tokens that I was going to make at end of turn from the lifelink here. I really need more mana. I think I'm going to Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards believe in this one, though, because if I hit that land drop, turn 1 Guide of Souls, turn 2 double Ocelot Pride is kind of nutty. Soul Warden, that's fine. I think I'm just gonna say no to that before any sort of ephemerate nonsense can get involved. And I do really need to hit that land drop. There's a new Guide of Souls. Did not hit the land drop. Okay. I think I'm going to just start here and save the Guide of Souls for a little bit. And opponent will fetch and surveil. But every time that I miss this land drop, it is giving my opponent more time to set up the Starfield Angel and Quantum Riddler. Yeah, so there's Quantum Riddler. Okay, cool. Looks like no ephemerate. I'll take the 1 damage here. That's totally fine. But this has already replaced itself. Ah, shit. Okay, well, I've now missed that land drop multiple different times. I hate this. I will long-term lose to this card. Maybe I can ignore it short-term and not give my opponent the extra land. I will start trying to get this going. And then get another cat. And maybe we can just try to ride this Soul Warden for a little while. Alright, Prismatic Ending makes me sad. Ocelot Pride also makes me sad. I've got this Goblin Bombardment where if I get it in play and get Ocelot Pride going, it will get silly, but I'm not there yet. 16. My opponent will be back up to 3 energy for next turn. Cool. I'm going to Arid Mesa, I think just for a basic Plains. I think I will try to get my own Ocelot Pride going and then kill one of these 2 creatures. I think it's the Guide of Souls. Cool. I'll take 2 out there, start making my Ocelot Pride cat tokens, and then maybe next turn we can use Goblin Bombardment to clear up everything except Quantum Riddler. Need to keep an eye on the number of cards in my opponent's hand. The Quantum Riddler ability is not live yet, but we're close. Everybody is coming to party. I'm gonna make that block. That one's pretty free. I'll let you have the 1 extra point of damage. I'm only net taking 4 this turn. Don't do it. Boo. I guess the good news is a bunch of this stuff is locked in my hand. Now I need to get rid of this Quantum Riddler before my opponent starts drawing a bunch of cards with it. So I think that means pathing it, and I think I'll play Guide of Souls this turn. It cleanly blocks an Ocelot Pride. I have to worry about the Starfield Angel, whatever it's called. Or another Quantum Riddler. That's pretty bad too. Land drop. Alright, cool. I get a little time. That Quantum Riddler just comes back next turn. Cats? Make cats? Turn on Goblin Bombardment? I really need more life gain. Let's just yield all energy generating abilities. I will play Ocelot Pride. I think I'm passing there to save my energy for next turn. And to have more blockers back versus, what are we doing? It's a Felia, sure. Seems good with the Quantum Riddler that we know is coming. I am up to 14. The Quantum Riddler is very scary. My opponent has 1 card in hand now. Oh, there's a Prismatic Ending, and that still leaves my opponent with enough mana to Quantum Riddler. So 0 cards in hand, that means that that is an immediate draw 2, and then they can potentially Felia blink it to just draw another one. They're thinking about attacking with the Ocelot Pride. They clicked and unclicked it. Yeah, they're just going to take another card out of that. I will just trade with Felia. Felia is very scary. I need to keep my Guide of Souls for Voice of the Blessed. This Quantum Riddler is such a problem. Norin doesn't really help. Bombardment doesn't do as much as I would like either. I think that Wrath of the Skies just beat me. I'll chill here. Maybe I can stack a whole bunch of counters on Voice of the Blessed with a Guide of Souls and its own abilities and go from there. I would like to make this big enough that it can fly and block Quantum Riddler, but I just don't see how I beat all of my opponent's cards. Fuck. Yes. Only 2 energy, luckily, but I am taking a beating. Oh god, and Ephemerate. And my opponent has the City's Blessing, so they get a bunch of cats and a bunch more energy. Yeah, I can break some of this up with Goblin Bombardment, but I just don't have renewable bodies right now. I think I am comfortable conceding here. I'm going to lose to this Quantum Riddler and Ephemerate nonsense. I just don't have the endgame to beat my opponent if they do something like sweep my board. Missing the land drops didn't help either. Regardless, GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, we're gonna try the just turn 1 Ragavan 1 land on the play line, and hope that that works out. If I draw a second land, things are really good, or if Ragavan lives, things are really good. Rove into Blade of the Blood Chief, so this is gonna be that like Eldrazi combo thingy. I just get to hit my opponent here. 18. A Sowing Mycospawn. Haven't seen one of those in a little while. I will just go ahead and Soul's Attendant here into Ocelot Pride. Always yes. Always yield. And we're making cats. Cavern on Eldrazi. Not unexpected. Alright, there is the Basking Brood Scale. We're gonna just get that out of the way here, so that I can continue to crash in. There's 2 damage. No creatures equipped for Blade of the Blood Chief. I'll send on in. 17. Do the Ragavan thing. A Vexing Bauble. Not interested. I think I am interested in this, though. Because now I get a whole bunch of Ocelot Pride triggers. And by extension, a bunch of life. And we've still got a path to exile for a large creature if my opponent makes one with Blade of the Blood Chief. Opponent is just passing, which is fine by me. I've got 2 different removal spells for if they have some nonsense. That is Kozilek's Command, Junking Ragavan. I don't think I'm going to path my Ragavan or anything. I'll gain a life. My opponent will take some damage. Now I will do the Ocelot Pride thing. Fantastic. And I've got a path or a Galvanic Discharge if I need to disrupt something over there. Saga's fine. There's a Brood Scale. I'll gain some life. Now I will go ahead and just discharge this creature. And that's good enough. I imagine that I want some number of these 6 cards here. Seems to me like the Static Prison is probably the worst removal spell in my deck in this matchup, since it's not instant speed, but it does just answer the things like Blade of the Blood Chief, while also having the flexibility to answer the creatures. Maybe my Goblin Bombardment turns into Stony Silence? I don't know how many of these I want. A couple, for sure. Is voice really better than... Maybe we do like this. Keep the Voice of Victories. This is an interactive hand that doesn't really do anything offensively. Given how many creatures that are in this deck, I think I'm just going to keep that and call that good. We've got Devourer of Destiny over there. I think it is very possible that this is a mulligan and that I should just keep something that is offensively stronger. I think I am okay trying to be reactive on the draw, though. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to, I think, just do a Surveil land immediately. I know that I don't want extra mana here, and I know that I will keep most creatures in this scenario. Cavern on Eldrazi, and a Malevolent Rumble. These top-end creatures are gonna be kind of scary for me. I know that my opponent has 2 huge endgame creatures that are just gonna be gross. I'm okay playing a Soul Warden here, and I'm okay presumably fetching as well. Basic Forest. There's a Brood Scale. Always yield to my Soul Warden. And I will just surveil. I don't need to use any mana immediately. Don't need that land. We have 5. We have 6. I don't know how much mana I need up here, so I think I'm just going to leave too much mana up and not try to, like, get away with avoiding some damage. I think I can just play this Sacred Boundary tapped next turn without too much trouble. Ugin's Labyrinth. No imprint. I'm fine with just killing this creature. The adapting is fine. I'll gain another life from that. And this still dies to the removal spell. My opponent does carry a mana over into the next turn through this spawn. That's not the greatest. Go ahead and just do a tapped land here and pass. The ward of pay 7 life is something that I'm going to have to think about. It's just going to happen. But it is turn 5 and I have not seen a second creature. This is not great for me. Oh, a creature went under there. This... Oh, shit. Yeah. Protection from instants, you say? Thanks, I hate it. Man, my opponent gets to ruin my fucking life. Protection from instants. Damn. So now my opponent can literally play every card in my hand, other than the lands. So they can Static Prison, exile one of their things, wear the Static Prison, attack my Soul Warden into Emrakul, path their own Haywire Might, or path my Soul Warden if they would prefer to do that. So they're going to wear their Haywire Might. I think that's worse than my line. They are Static Prisoning their Emrakul. Do they think they can Static Prison the Static Prison? Because that's not how that works. Okay. This is this Static Prison that has the Emrakul, so yeah, I'll pay for that. I will sacrifice this one. I unfortunately drew yet another land. I'm going to just thin a land out of the deck at this point. Urza Saga. Slightly longer term, like this is a problem. This is also a problem. Life's not great. So I think my opponent threaded their Emrakul very badly, but I don't know that it's going to matter. It's turn 6, I have not drawn a creature the entire game. What is this? When you cast this, exile a thingy, then when this leaves the battlefield, opponent draws a card. Got it. You get your Emrakul back. Still unfortunately has protection from instants. I just need to draw the card and hope that I am a total fucking luck sack with the stuff that I draw. Ocelot Pride. That's not the worst. So I'll do this. I can't path Emrakul. So I can take 13 from Emrakul, take 7 from the ward on this, and then... I don't know. There's also Urza Saga tokens that could get involved. If my opponent gets to 7 mana, I'm not sure that they actually want to... Oh, did I miscount? Oh, there's a second forest there. Walking Ballista for X equals 2. Seems good. I'm taking 13. Opponent has 2 7-drop creatures in hand. I'm not winning. So let's try this again when I'm on the play. Do I want Blood Moons on the play? Blood Moons on the play seem totally reasonable. Just to try to stop my opponent from getting to their top end. I think I'll do that. I don't think I'm going to go with more Wear Tears than what I have right now. I'd very much like a Ragavan opener. I don't want 2 Ragavans, but I'm just going to say that this is fine. Devourer of Destiny revealed. Sometimes I get to save this as a Surveil land. I'm going to say that this is fine. What went to exile? A decent assortment of things. Cool, so I will go ahead and go to Punchies. I will Punchies. When it goes to 18. Ancient Stirrings. I'm not interested in that. I think I am just going to shock with this. And then do Soul Warden into Voice of Victory. And then pass. This is a respectable amount of damage, and hopefully Ragavan can keep getting in there. If I has 4 mana, they could do something like a Thought-Knot Seer. Would not be great. Just take my Galvanic Discharge. Ozolek's Command. Taking out the Ragavan. Sure. Are we dashing? I think we are dashing. Yeah. Send it. Trigger. Gain even more life. Hit my opponent with the Ragavan. A Soul Guide Lantern. I don't super need this up right now. I don't think I'm going to... I guess I could play this first and decide if I need that treasure for any reason. I'm going to say no to that. And then I will just go ahead and play this. Take out a Kozilek's command. And pass. My Ragavan's going to go back to hand. I'm scared. My opponent could just play a 7-drop creature that looks like this turn. Holy hell. I'm going to lose Voice of Victory. Gain a little life. Stony Silence is not great at this stage. I'm going to go ahead and just do this immediately. The land is not great at this stage. I think this is now a setup turn. I think I lose less life this way, and then I can maybe save this for later. This is just life neutral due to what I gain. And now I think it's just a question of how many big bombs does my opponent have in hand. Triple Eldrazi Temple is crazy. I will take 6. And now this is where I need like an Ocelot Pride or something. Alright, there is a Sire of 7 Deaths. There's a Voice of the Blessed. That's not the worst. Let's convert this into Blood Moon. Can I cast this? I'm not sure that I can cast Blood Moon immediately. If I do, I cannot play Voice of the Blessed anymore. I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn. Then I'm going to have some decisions to make. I don't have any leftover energy for Galvanic Discharge purposes. I think Ragavan gaining me 6 life is fine. But my situation is not great. I think if my opponent plays another 7-drop, I just concede on the spot. Okay, my Stony Silence was relevant. Go back up to 14. Throws this further. Oh, and there's more. A Walking Ballista for X equals 2. Seems good. Oh, I get another counter on this. This is up to a 5. Goodbye, Soul Warden. Don't have enough energy to kill this and draw a new card. I guess I'm surveilling. Trigger. This would have been great like 30 seconds ago. Now it's just not. Ragavan. So I can Galvanic Discharge something. I don't think it is realistic for me to win this game anymore. GG's. Okay, opening hand is what I would consider fine. Hopefully we can do something cool with Ragavan, or hopefully we draw a Soul Sister to round out this hand. So Norin is not really all that strong right now. Well, we got another one. And in for 2. Trigger. Tezzeret Cruel Captain. I gotta think about that. So we're not so much with the artifacts here. So is there anything that is relevant about me doing this? I don't have artifact creatures. I could get them from my opponent. I think I'm ignoring that. I think I am just the beatdown here. That's a shame. This is an exciting hit that doesn't really work for me. Urza's Saga happens. Chalice on 1. Well, shit. That's basically my entire deck. This is what the pile of wear tears in the sideboard is for. 12. Serum Powder. Well, I don't have anything else to do, so I guess I'm in. The Urza Saga Construct tokens are gonna be annoying. I might be able to use Norin to push a little damage past that stuff. Main deck Stonebrain? Fascinating. Okay. My opponent is about to complete Tron. They can presumably get an expedition map off of this. What if they didn't, though? What if they didn't complete Tron? Ever? Alright, so there's mine, there's tower. Get rid of the power plants. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, you got ensnaring bridges? That's cool. Mystic Forge. And a Jester's Cap. How are we winning? Arn or Tezzeret is basically it. Okay. Got him. My opponent has enough lands in hand that they probably can't empty their hand. I think you make the Construct token here so you're not just dead. Oh shit, Basilisk Collar. That's a problem. It might be hard for me to get over the finish line here. My deck is like 31 drops. Yeah. So I can attack in and deal 4 points of damage and probably lose Ragavan in process. and playing it from exile doesn't matter. It feels like this Basilisk color beats me. I'm going to keep playing, but I think we're done. I don't know if you can be mad about losing to a player who is playing Jester's Cap. Yeah, so opponent equips and plays a Spellskite. You've got it. And I will take that damage. I can attack back again now, though. That's the good news. Another Voice of the Blessed, sure. So this gets 4 points of damage in. I do not want to exile that card. Opponent goes to 7. I will play a new Voice of the Blessed. I think I die in about 2 turns to the Construct Token and Basilisk Color. Oh, there's Shadow Spear too. Now we trample. More Spellskite. Now it's damn near impossible for me to remove things. I will take 8. I'm at 5. That is another land. That's not going to do it. I can crack back for a little bit here, but I'm just not going to beat this. And the Death Touch and Trample is pretty gross as a combo. GG. Let's assume that some amount of this nonsense is necessary. I'm least excited about Wrath of the Skies. It can clear out a bunch of stuff, but the damage to myself is pretty devastating. I need to go down on 1-drops here, partially because of Chalice, partially to make room for other stuff. Galvanic Discharge not killing Spellskite by itself is kind of a huge deal. I think these cards are replacing those. And then Static Prison answers a lot of stuff, but is a 1-drop, whereas this is a 2-drop. Go down on some Static Prisons. This is Soul's Attendant into Ocelot Pride, into more other Ocelot Pride. And I have a Stony Silence. I'll need another land. Hand's nuts if I get another land, and acceptable if I don't. I don't know if I get to keep 1 landers in the 20 land deck. 17. I just play Ocelot Pride on 1, actually. Yeah, I think I do, just so I can attack with it and trigger both Ocelot Prides next turn if I miss my land drop. Power Plant. Cool, I don't need to do any of this pre-combat. Send on in. Opponent's at 19. Fetch. I don't really ever need red. I'm going to get a basic in case I draw my Blood Moon. There's Soul's Attendant. There's Ocelot Pride number 2. Always yes. Always yield. Make cat friends. Okay. We've got a lot of power in play. And I can Stony Silence to keep my opponent's artifacts from being live. Blast Zone. Sure. Palace on 1 is fine. The damage is done with my 1-drops. And I'll have a bunch of tokens, so Blast Zone becoming live somehow doesn't just ruin me. Let's go to Punchies. Let's Punchies. Opponent goes to 14. I'll drop a Stony Silence and make some cats. Very nice. And that's so many cats. I assume this is a lethal amount of cats. What, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Not a lethal amount of cats, but pretty close. Fetch. Surveil. Aha, lethal amount of cats. Throw a Goblin Bombardment into play, and my opponent concedes. We drew the lands that we needed to make that hand insane. I'm not going to be changing anything about what I do. Chalice on 1, definitely a little scarier when I am on the draw, though. Okay, I've got Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, and Soul's Attendant as well. Opening hand is solid. I have a Wrath of the Skies for if things get a little bit weird. This is real cool. Don't have an untapped land for it. I think I'm just going to do this. Static Prison. I'm going to take that for the long term. That's something that can get me out from under an ensnaring bridge lock. Looks like my opponent is going to have turn 3 Tron. So I will go ahead and Guide of Souls immediately into Ocelot Pride, and I'll get some stuff started over here. I'll make a cat at the end of turn, and then my opponent can get their other Tron piece. 21. So the good news is that I think my opponent's deck dirtles a little bit harder than your average Tron deck does. Alright, there is a Chalice. I am prepared for that. There's a Warping Whale. Sure. I don't need to remove that Chalice immediately. The Ensnaring Bridge is pretty good against Voice of the Blessed. I'll answer that with Static Prison after casting a Wrath of the Skies in all likelihood. I could also just Wrath of the Skies for 0 immediately, destroy my cat token, and move on with my life. I might do that. Yeah. So there's 2 damage. Nuke that, and pass. Opponent has big mana. The next words that were about to come out of my mouth were, so we're hoping to avoid Karn. We did not avoid Karn. I don't think Mycosynth Lattice is legal in this format anymore, but it's 6 mana with a Karn activation. I assume this is going to be something that beats me, and I will be happy if I am wrong. Jester's Cap. Okay. So they get to search my library for 3 cards and exile them. I get to just attack and kill Karn this turn, which is sick. What's going to exile? Okay, that all seems reasonable. Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant. Just need to gain 1 energy to kill Karn. I want to play something that can keep attacking. I think that's Voice of Victory. So gain my energy, go to Punchies, send in at Karn, say yes. That's 3 damage to kill Karn. I have Static Prison for Ensnaring Bridge unless my opponent casts another Chalice. Mystic Forge is pretty good. Opponent junks an island. Is that just simply for Path to Exile and, like, what is it? White Orchid Phantom type cards? That's another Mystic Forge. And an Expedition map. Opponent still has 1 card in hand. Voice of Victory is able to attack. I can also make Guide of Souls attack if I get rid of Ensnaring Bridge. I'm more interested in playing removing Ensnaring Bridge the turn that I attack with a Voice of the Blessed. So I think I'm going to go bam, bam, trigger. I think I'm going to just try to set up for lethal next turn. Without doing math, I assume this is very good. Always yield to that. Always yes to that. Always yield to that. Go to combat, declare attackers, attack with Voice of Victory, Guide of Souls, trigger on the bottom, mobilize, make 2 friends, which is worth the bajillion D life. Just yield to all energy generating abilities. Now I'm going to go ahead and say yes here. With my intention of removing Ensnaring Bridge next turn, I think I'm going to put my tokens here. If things go wrong, though, maybe it's better to do this. Yeah, if things go wrong, it's probably just better to do this. And this is worth a respectable amount of damage. And I just play Static Prison, and then Voice of the Blessed alone is probably good enough. In the timelines where my opponent produces 2 Ensnaring Bridges, things get a little wonky, and I might have to try to burn my opponent out with Goblin Bombardment. Exile a card from the top. Serum Powder. And it's just how hot does my opponent run off the top of the library? They have Expedition maps as shuffles. No immediate play. So I'm going to throw down this. I'm going to throw down Static Prison. I'm going to remove Ensnaring Bridge. I'm going to go to Punchies, and this should be lethal. There's Voice of Victory. My opponent doesn't get to cast spells on my turn. There's going to be a lot of triggers here, and my opponent is dead. Well, opponent was fighting the good fight, trying to play Brainstone and Jester's Cap, the Stone Brain and Jester's Cap. They had an uphill battle. This does mean that we put at least 1 match win on the board today. GG's. Alright, opening hand is solid for round 4. I have a lot of different threats. We might be playing against an energy deck from the look of things. So I'm always doing that much. And I think I'm going to start by playing something that can, in theory, block Ocelot Pride. And I can still have Soul Warden Ocelot Pride for the following turn if I want to start making my own cats. But my opponent is going to successfully get through here and start making friends. 17. You've got it. So I hope they don't have more removal. They don't have more removal. This is fine. If this represents a removal spell and not a fetch land, I am a little sad. Sorry, and not a surveil land was the intention there. All right, I'm in play, but I think my Ocelot Pride is about to die. Yes. So my opponent is going to make a bunch of friends, and then hopefully I'll make a bunch of friends. We can all be friends together. 3rd land drop. I'd be Add to see like a Flage that removes my Soul Warden. That would not be great for me. I'll take 2. I'm at 15. Hey, exactly the thing I didn't want to see. Yay! So there's 4 cards in graveyard towards Flage. I guess I am trying to path Flage when Flage comes back rather than path Ocelot Pride, which means that the Flage gets to eat like 1 more of my cards, which is not the best for me. But I think this is what it is. I'll start gaining some life. I'll be back to 17 after this other cat comes down. Cannot get a break. Really wanted my opponent to miss for a turn. I'm going to lose Guide of Souls. Opponent is offering a trade of Ocelot Prides, which honestly I'm just going to take. I probably have more ways to trigger Ocelot Pride than they do. I think it's just gotta happen. I'll pass here with the intention of hitting Flage with Path, but I'm going to let my opponent draw their card for turn on the off chance that they have like all their basic mountains in deck. I don't know exactly how many basics they're playing. Seems good. Now I can't block these cat tokens either until I path both things. Flage has got to go first. Unquestionably. There is a basic mountain, and I'm taking 2 damage. My opponent's 2-for-1 cards like Flage and Ajani here are doing some serious work. God damn it. Yes. And at this portion of the game, I am really going to be feeling my lack of card advantage. Opponent has no cards left. Voice of Victory doesn't really stabilize the board because of Ajani. So I guess I am just going to discharge this cat. Then I can trade with the 2-1 cat token, have Path around for Flage later. I think my opponent is pretty massively favored right now. Oh, they're not even going to offer me the 2-1. That's fine. I'll trade cat for cat here anyway. Voice of Victory still just walls this one. This is unfortunately probably a removal spell, since my opponent didn't play anything with their turn. Either that or my opponent just is bluffing a land, which I'm now going to assume is the case. Dash Ragavan. Sure. Ah, no, it's a Thraben charm, and they just needed the extra creatures. Thanks, I hate it. That means my opponent gets to hit with Ragavan, and since my deck is full of 1-drops, this is just very, very efficient for them. Alright, cool. Oh wait, there was a Norin from Exile. It just didn't pop up onto my screen, I see. Well, that's not great. My opponent got a bonus 2-1 out of that. I'm going to play Voice of Victory in hopes of playing Soul's Attendant next turn and attacking with this and gaining a bunch of life. But my death is right there, and there's 4 cards in my opponent's graveyard already. So it does not take much to tip this over the line. That's a Seasoned Pyromancer. So that's a draw 2. There's now 5 cards in graveyard for Flage. I think just, even if I remove the Flage, the stuff that is already on board is going to overpower me here. GG. I will probably play a couple copies of Wrath of the Skies to catch up when my opponent gets ahead, and I might need to play Ghost Vacuum because I am just very bad versus Flage. I don't really want to do this. Maybe I can get away with not doing it when I'm on the play. I think when I'm on the draw, I have to Ghost Vacuum. This is a very reasonable set of Magic the Gathering cards. I don't love keeping 1-landers with this hand. I'm going to try this one because Ragavan is a ton of value if it works. And I'm just hoping that Ragavan doesn't eat a removal spell. If it does, I have other kind of cool things that I can be doing. Okay, Static Prison, that's okay. Land drop off the top, come on, baby. Nope. I think I'm going to go and try to get this in the red zone next turn. But sometimes my opponent plays something like an Ajani and that just doesn't work out. Land drop 2. Hey, that's not the land drop that I want, but I guess this is fine. So I'll just discharge here, kill that, and then my first strike means that I don't have to worry about losing to this. I can start making some cats, but if I am missing my land drops, this is not going to be great for me in the long term. I need to just deploy more stuff and build more of a board before the Flages of the world can get down. Damn it. Opponent is continuing to hit land drops, and I am not. Can't really attack this turn. I can discharge another Ajani. I guess I don't need to do it now. What if I just play this? Try to dodge this flipping for a turn. make my Ocelot Pride better in the long term. I know that I'm gaining life off this Ragavan coming back, for example. Opponent surveils and keeps their card on top. Alright, Ragavan comes back. Yeah, I'll use that ability. Thraben Charm takes out my Ocelot Pride. There's a Guide of Souls. I'll gain a life. And I will just take 2 there. I don't want to transform that into the Planeswalker because I can currently answer the creature version of it. Opponent has another land. And boy, I would love to be deploying cards here. I need to remove both of these. I think I just don't beat the transformed Planeswalker. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm not willing to attack with any of these creatures. I don't want to trade Ragavan for a cat token when some portion of the times I cast this for X equals 0 to wipe out all of my opponent's tokens at once. But I am so afraid of the things, like Flage as of right now. The opponent just randomly surveilled one. That didn't even cost them a card out of hand. Now this costs me my Path to Exile. And probably loses me my Soul's Attendant. Yes. I'll happily trade cat for cat here. Save myself some life. Note that even after missing all of these land drops, I don't have all that many cards more than my opponent. Like, before they played that land, they did have 3 cards. Sure am not hitting the land drops, though. I'll be lazy with my timing here. And then I'm just passing the turn. I'm just not really playing Magic. I'm removing my opponent's stuff, but I'm not generating any real advantage. I'm not dealing any damage. At least my opponent is out of Surveil lands. I think their mid-range stuff like Flage and Seasoned Pyromancers and stuff like that are just going to do so much work here. Yeah, exactly. Now my opponent is just going to discard their bad card, convert it into 2 good cards, and just bury me. Another Guide of Souls. The energy is going to get out of line over there. Another Flage. Yeah. Uh-huh. I have a little bit of banked energy for Wrath of the Skies, which is cool, I guess, but I think on turn 6, having not hit a second land drop, I'm just out of it. We did not play Magic. GG's. Alright, going into the final round here, we have a 1-lander and it's not both of our colors. We have a 1-lander and it's not both of our colors. This is, I guess, acceptable. I think I'm going to get rid of Path and Goblin Bombardment and keep 2 different reasonable 1-drops, 2 lands, and a removal spell. What is this? Okay, are we just gonna get belched? Feels like we're probably gonna get belched. A lead on Ragavan here. Yeah, more MDFCs. Alright, understood. Thundertrap Trainer. Opponent has the Belcher. Not great. 2 toughness. Go to punchies. Punchies for 2. 15. War of Invention not doing me any favors. I think I just go untapped land and put as much power into play as I can. I do not believe that I am going to race my opponent just casting Goblin Charbelcher on 4 and activating on turn 5. We'll see. That's certainly not doing me any favors. Worth 5 damage if everything goes through, and it doesn't. Only getting 3 damage here. That's rough. I will do a Ragavan, and I think I'm going to surveil off of the fetch land to take a land out of deck. I have 4 power in play, and my opponent, has a tapped land. Okay, that's a big deal. So let's take a land out of play with Elegant Parlor. Nope. We're just basically looking for any non-land card. I'm just looking for anything that can add a little damage. Let's just immediately do this. Thank you, deck. I think I can still draw Goblin Bombardment next turn. The opponent's at 8. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I get Goblin Bombardment, Norin is not going to do it. Straight to graveyard with you. Ocelot Pride triggers. There's Whir of Invention. My opponent gets a Lotus Bloom. That just means I full on die. Cool, cool, cool. Did not get that extra turn. Just for giggles. Can't see if it was Goblin Bombardment. Alright, Stony Silence seems great. Wear Tears seem fine. Blood Moons probably don't matter that much. Deafening Silence doesn't feel like it matters that much, but I guess it's not nothing. Path to Exiles can go. Galvanic Discharges technically hit some things like the Otters that can stop me from attacking. Norin's not great. Are the Soul Wardens worse? I guess the Soul Wardens trigger Ocelot Pride, probably not. Board out all of the Norins, and I'll go down a discharge. That has one land, but a Ragavan. But I have no way to gain life for the voices. I'm not into this. This is fine. It's not good, but it's fine. This is a hand that is somewhat interactive that gets to start off on a Deafening Silence. But this doesn't really stop my opponent. It will slow them down sometimes, but I think only sometimes, and my hand's not all that aggressive. Cool. I think I just play mana efficiently here, because sometimes I rip a 1-drop next turn. I don't think my life total matters. I guess I could, in theory, gain enough life to outlive Goblin Charbelcher, but that seems unlikely with where I am at right now. 17. It's an Archaeologist. There's a Goblin Charbelcher. My opponent does take it. So I will throw down on a Soul's Attendant. I will get this out of the way so I can attack. Doesn't feel great using a card on that. Send in. 15. My opponent's got a tapped land, and my opponent gets rid of my abilities. I could tear that. I don't think I'm going to do that immediately. I think surveilling is more valuable. I'm going to say no to that. I want to wear the Goblin Charbelcher. I think I am not using this to get rid of Unable to Scream. Always yes, always yield. Send in for just one. 14. Opponent is passing. That's great. Drawing this land is not. I just kind of need any dudes to keep energy flowing for Guide of Souls. 12. Alright, there's the Whir. I think I now have to get rid of that. Otherwise my opponent can just go land Charbelcher and I don't have a chance to kill the Charbelcher. But we can wear Tear. And my opponent can't counter or anything, because they have already cast their one. There's Tameshi. I'll gain life, which is cool. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. X and white, return a land you control, return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so they can use that to do cool things with Lotus Bloom. 8 that for me. That's a Wear Tear. I don't think that's doing anything. Put that into graveyard. So there's Voice of Victory. Is worth 1 energy and 2 life and a couple of counters. Can only attack with this one safely. 7. Alright, so my opponent bounces a land with Tameshi to get Lotus Bloom into play. So there's enough mana to put the Goblin Charbelcher into play. And I don't think I die immediately. Oh, I see. They can keep doing it. That's not a cast. That is just a return. Yeah, so I do die immediately. And a few clicks later, the Charbelcher is on the stack. And we are dead, losing this one very handily. GG's. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty bad. I don't think Norin was a card that was worth playing around and building a deck around. The fact that you have to spend your mana on playing the creature again is a pretty big deal. And while in theory that sounds cool to like gain the life, in practice it's incredibly awkward, especially if you start thinking about instant speed combat tricks. So if you attack in with a bunch of creatures thinking you're just going to be able to replay them, and then your opponent just like lightning bolts Norin, and now you don't get to do all of that anymore, you might just Wrath of God yourself for no reason. I think the risk reward there with Norin is very bad, especially in a format that has free removal spells like Solitude. I don't think this is worth it. More generally, I don't think there was enough support in this deck for Guide of Souls and Soul Warden to be good. Like, Guide of Souls is fine with only Ocelot Pride, but to do the other Soul Attendants too with only Voice of the Blessed and Ocelot Pride as the payoff, I don't think that was enough. When you compare what we are doing here to Boros Energy, which has a decent amount of overlap with the deck, I think Boros Energy just has so much more game than this deck does. We have no end game. If we don't aggro kill quickly, I think the game is just over, and whatever cool things our opponent is doing, be that like Quantum Riddlers or Phages or whatever, I think they just overpower us. I think Soul Sisters is a tough sell in Modern, generally speaking. And I think if you are trying to Soul Sisters and do something cute on top of that, like Norin, I think that is just a little bit too much. So Anubis, I think you are back to the drawing board on this one. Cool idea, it did not work in practice. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I hope you all enjoyed. See ya!